And welcome to another Adobe Illustrator video tutorial. We're going to teach you about clipping masks. Clipping masks are objects that sit on top of other objects and you can only see through the top object to the bottom. So a perfect example of how to use that is a set of eyes. If you ever look at your eyes in a mirror or another person's eyes, you can see that most of the time you cannot see the entire iris. Part of it is chopped off, sometimes on both the top and the bottom. On here we got top and bottom, but most of the time there might be a little bit of a white line on the bottom. And so these are some really nice vector art eyes that I got off the internet. There's also some student examples on my webpage to look at. And so you're going to make a set of eyes. Once you make one, you'll just copy and paste it and flip it. That's no big deal. Basics, I'm going to show you first of how the clipping mask works. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some examples of how you can add some fancy things on here. You could draw them, you could use brush strokes. There is some hair and fur where you can get eyelashes out of them. And you can change those eyelashes a little bit. So let's get started. Here's the real basic eye, the thing that will get you 3 out of 5, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an ellipse tool, and I'm going to drag it like this. Then I'm going to grab my white arrow tool, and I'm going to drag just over the middle 2 points. So you'll notice that these ones are filled with white, and these ones are darkened. And then I'm going to grab my point. Okay, or convert to a point. So then you have the shape of an eye, and then with a white arrow tool, you can bend it. And sorry, I had both of them selected there, and I could pull this one up, or I could pull this one down. I could grab the handle here, and I could bring it more to the front if I wanted. There's many things you could do with that eye. Then you're just going to grab a simple circle. I probably hold the Shift and the Alt or the Shift key. I like it to come from the middle. And I just went to my swatches and my library of swatches and grabbed from Gradients Simple Radial. So here's my simple radial. I'm just going to go cancel here, and I'm going to pick a color. But that's on the line color accidentally, so I'm just going to take the stroke and I'm going to change that to black. There are many strokes that you could mess with on the outside edge and try. I suggest you do try some on the iris, but the strokes are often really big, so then you might have to change it to 0.25 or less than 0.25. You can actually type it in, so it can go really thin. Then I usually use the star tool. So click and hold here, and I grab the star tool and go with quite a few points with a really small radius in the middle and so on. Then I go like that, and then I take a version of that color, so maybe something darker to fill it. So that's going to fill it, and my stroke could be exactly the same, or it could be black. And so I could go there with black on my stroke, and then I'd probably make sure it's super thin for this one, because 0.05. Enter. Then I've got a shape, and I can go here, put that in the middle. I can make it as big as I need it to be. Probably would have been better if I went Shift and Alt, but I can also use the align tools here to align them center. And then if I want to make this not so noticeable, I can mess with the opacity or even the blend mode. I could try these blend modes here if I wanted. And so then I got to grab a simple ellipse for the pupil, which will be a solid black. And again, I'll just go from the center. I'll go Shift and Alt. And here we go. I'm going to go right click, group, or I could just go Control G, and I'll notice that this doesn't have much of a stroke on it. But okay, so here's now the most important part. When you do a clipping mask, number one, this piece, the white piece, the part that goes over top, must be on top, not on the bottom. But you also need a copy, because when you do a clipping mask, this piece is going to disappear. So I always suggest that you Control C and V several pieces. Okay, then we're going to drop this over here, and we're going to make sure that it's hanging out over a little bit. I'm going to go right click, arrange, bring the front, drag over both with the black arrow tool, and make clipping mask. And see, it disappeared. So that's why I had to have two. Then I can grab both of them, and I can align center and align center, and they'll fit perfectly. I can mess with the strokes, Control G. Then I can draw an eyebrow with a brush, maybe grab one of these brushes, or you can use tons of little points, or you can do eyelashes. So let's talk now about how you would do a little bit fancier one. So I made this one, and if we zoom way into this one has two stars on it, one with 23 points and one with 50 points, so they don't line up perfectly. I believe the stroke was super thin, or I turned the stroke completely off. I grouped it, and then I'm going to zoom out. Then I made this piece here, and I'm going to go Control C and Control V, so I've got two. And you can see that this guy needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go Shift key, and then he's going to sit, or maybe not, make it smaller. Do that. I'm going to move it a little bit to the front. I just use my arrow keys, and I'll go right click, make clipping mask. Okay, then I'm going to take this. Then I could try a whole bunch of brushes. I often will go artistic and scroll pin, and then I'll grab one of these scroll pins, and I'm going to make it super thin. So there, I'll put that on top of that. I'll grab it, and I will center and center. And or you can draw a piece. I could take a curvature tool, and I'll hold the Alt key. And I could just change that and fill that with black, and take that, have no stroke. I could go right click, arrange, and send it back. So then you have that piece here. You could draw that. You can adjust that all you want. And then I've got you could draw eyelashes and put them on in varying ways. But you've also got these things that I made. I used two circles, overlapped them, and divided them with the Pathfinder palette. And then you could take something like this, and it could go with no stroke. And then you can take it here and right click, arrange, bring the front, rotate it, make it a little smaller. And then change the opacity down on that. Right, so it just puts a little shadow. You can do all kinds of little shapes with that shadow. You can do all kinds of little shapes. You could even do little shadows in the white to have all kinds of glares. Lots of people put ellipses. You can see all kinds of things in here. So the last thing I wanted to show you is over here in my symbols. And if I go to hair and fur, I can take all kinds of eyelashes out here. And one of the things, though, I need to show you is that, number one, I can't change the color of this. So if I wanted it to be white, I can't make it white. I can't change that because it's a symbol and it belongs to Illustrator. To make it belong to you, you have to break the link. And once I break the link, then I can make it black if I want. And I can rotate that, and I can duplicate it, and I can put it wherever I want, make them smaller, bigger, so on and so forth, until you come up with something looking pretty fabulous like these eyes. Okay, so aim for something that looks at least that good, but many of you could go for things that look this good. Thanks for watching.